You don't know Flack.
Thank you, Sergeant Satchel. Thank you, Sergeant.
You don't know Flack.
Welcome to You Don't Know Flack, a podcast full of stories about retro gaming, retro computing, video games, arcade games, and technology from a guy who was there and still is. My name is Rob O'Hara, but for the next 30 minutes, you can call me Flack. Greetings and salutations, listeners, and welcome to another episode of You Don't Know Flack. On today's episode, we will be talking about Meta's Ray-Ban smart glasses. This episode of You Don't Know Flack was made possible by my Patreon supporters like Jason Palmer, Joshua Eckroth, and LegsLikeMine.com. If you'd like to support my podcast and other creative ventures, visit my Patreon page at patreon.com/Rob O'Hara. All of my patrons get access to behind-the-scenes blog posts, random videos, access to the Amigos Retro Gaming Discord server, and other additional perks. To find out more details, visit my page. Again, that is patreon.com/Rob O'Hara. You know, the problem with getting new glasses and switching glasses is that sometimes I have trouble reading things. So while I switch glasses, that'll give us a minute to talk during this week's Loading Time.
Loading time. Loading time. Loading time.
Welcome back to another episode of You Don't Know Flack. The first thing you might notice if you are watching online is that this episode is actually available on YouTube. So if you'd like to watch the video version of this podcast, go to youtube.com/Rob O'Hara. You will see a category. Maybe it'll be under the Sprite Castle. It might be under You Don't Know Flack. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know that I'm going to do these all in video format as well as audio in the future. But this episode, I wanted to physically show something. So if you want to see the item that I'm showing and we'll be talking about on this episode, then you might want to watch the video episode. But of course, all my podcasts will always be available in audio format. So no change there. One thing that has changed here is the temperature. We had the cold front come in, so yesterday the high here was almost 60 degrees in Oklahoma. I think we hit 57, 58 degrees, which was super nice. And this morning it is 17 degrees here in Oklahoma City, which is not so nice. This weekend they are predicting single-digit temperatures of 8 degrees Fahrenheit, 7 degrees Fahrenheit on Monday, and with a wind chill. They said it could be negative 15 degrees. So we did not get a white Christmas. We did not get any snow. But now here comes the cold. So that's Oklahoma for you. Yesterday it was in the 50s. Today it's 17. Tomorrow it'll be 8. Next Thursday we might be swimming. That's the way the weather goes here in Oklahoma. I have not, this is not technical related, but on a personal relation or story sharing, I have injured my back somehow. I don't know what I've done. I have a doctor's appointment later this afternoon, so we are going to find out what exactly it is I did and what can be done to fix it. But I've been having back spasms. When I wake up in the morning, when I roll out of bed, when I try to get out of bed, my back will spasm multiple times to the point where occasionally I've fallen, but it's always when I'm getting up out of bed. So the good news is I fell back into bed, which is, I guess if you're going to fall, that's the best place to do it. But the good news for me is that once I get up and around, I mean, after just a few minutes of stretching and walking around, it kind of goes away. I still have pain, but I don't have that spasms. But the place where it feels the best is when I'm sitting in this chair. So good news, listeners of podcasts. I'll be spending a lot of time in this chair, I suspect. So that's good news for people that enjoy my content. And content, by the way, includes videos from Big Rob's Van. If you're not following Big Rob's Van, you know what, I said I wasn't going to plug Big Rob's Van on here, so I won't talk about it. But if you did go to youtube.com/@ Big Rob's Van, you would see my latest video where I camped at a casino. And my goal of the casino, the goal of the video was I'm going to make the casino pay me to stay there. So you can watch that video and see if that lofty goal came true or not. The Meta Ray-Ban sunglasses that I'll be talking about on this episode are one of two technology related gifts that I got for Christmas. The other was a Flipper Zero. If you're not familiar with that, and I'm barely familiar with it, but I know that it has created quite a little stir online. The Flipper Zero is being described as a hacking tool for script kiddies. It allows you to do a lot of different things, mostly with intercepting and also reproducing wireless types of signals. I know there's a lot of RFID capabilities in the Flipper Zero. There's I got the Wi-Fi add-on, so you can play with Wi-Fi wireless packets. I think it can do Bluetooth. It does a lot of things with cell phones. It does RF or IR, I should say. So people have been using it to mess with televisions in public places. I believe they've used it to change gas prices on gas signs. Those are all uses that I'm sure are not induced or endorsed by the people behind Flipper Zero, but as a old hacker at heart, I'm looking forward to playing around with it in ethical ways, of course, and I don't even put that in air quotes. I mean, I will only play with my own network and my own devices and things like that, but it seems like a really interesting device, and so I would expect an episode of You Don't Know Flack somewhere down the line on the Flipper Zero as well. And the last thing I'll say before we get started on this episode is just a reminder that Monday is Martin Luther King Day. You know, I mentioned this on a previous episode, but when my wife was pregnant with our son, we had a vacation planned and we went to Memphis and we had a great time. And one of the things that we did was toured the Lorraine, I think that's called the Lorraine Hotel, that was the motel where Martin Luther King was assassinated, and now it is a civil rights museum. It had a big impact on me, and it really, with the way things are in the world, the way things have been and the way things are going, it just kind of resets you, to think about other people in a more kind way. So that's what I would say to you on Martin Luther King Day. It's a good time to maybe consciously practice a little bit of compassion for other people. Maybe that is strangers in the supermarket or people that you interact with online, whatever that may be. But that's a good time to consciously think about that and maybe reset some things. So if you have any feedback about this or any episode of my podcast, you can email me directly at robohara@robohara.com. You can join the conversation on Facebook at facebook.com/Robcast. Follow me on Twitter at Commodork or Instagram at Commodork. Come chat with me on the Amigos Retro Gaming Discord server or leave a message on the podcast hotline, which is 405-486-YDKF. I have found my glasses that I got for Christmas. So with that, let's get started with this episode of You Don't Know Flack. Before I begin talking about these glasses, I want to talk about Bluetooth headsets, and more specifically, those little Bluetooth earpieces. You remember when those came out and all of a sudden everybody had them, and everybody had little Bluetooth things in their ear and it would flash when they were talking, but you didn't always see them. I remember being in a grocery store and the person next to me said, "What are you up to?" And I turned and I said, "Nothing." And then they gave me a look and I noticed the thing in their ear. They weren't talking to me. They were talking to somebody else on the thing in their ear. And I think in general that technology has benefits, but also a downside. You know, the benefit is it gave us, to a certain extent, or expanded hands-free conversations. We could talk on the phone in our car, which you could argue whether or not we need to be doing that in the first place, but it was hands-free. You could drive and keep your eyes on the road and not do anything with your phone and just have conversations through your Bluetooth headset. And so, from a convenience factor, from a safety factor, it was probably a good thing. It was a bad thing when it came to social annoyance, when it came to sitting in a restaurant and having loud conversations on your Bluetooth thing when other people around you are dining, or when you were in a public space, maybe you're on a metro, or maybe you're at work, or whatever the situation was. It kind of put people in their own headspace where maybe they just ignored what was going on around them. They weren't paying attention to social cues. And so I don't know that everything about them was great. And there's probably a reason that I'm mentioning this as we segue into these glasses that I got for Christmas. Now, these are... I keep waving. If you're watching the video, I've been waving around the case that they came in, and we'll talk about the case in a little bit. But as I open these up and remove the glasses, you can see these are Meta's Ray-Ban smart glasses. So these are, I believe, the second version of Meta's smart glasses. And what they've done is they have partnered with Ray-Ban. So if you look at these, they look like Ray-Ban glasses. They look just like Ray-Ban sunglasses. The frames, they feel slightly heavier, but I'm going to say, I'm going to use a caveat. I don't own any Ray-Bans because I can't afford Ray-Bans. I have knockoff Ray-Bans and I have a lot of knockoff sunglasses. So I would say these feel a little heavier, ever so slightly heavier than other glasses. Once they're on your head and on your face, they feel like regular sunglasses. It doesn't feel like this heavy thing that's going to fall off your face. So, let's go back just a little bit in time. Again, this is the second version of Meta's glasses. Google had their Google Glass, if you remember that looked like something out of Star Trek. They looked like glasses, and they had a big box on them that looked weird, and people were walking around talking to their glasses and stuff, and they even earned this PG-13 nickname, which was glass holes, because they were super annoying, and it was just like the people with those Bluetooth headsets, not the people that respect people's privacy and personal space, but the people that would stand in the middle of the supermarket and have loud conversations about bodily functions or issues with their children or whatever they're doing that you don't want to hear. So it got a little bit of a bad reputation, but they've come back. This version 2, again, these are Meta. They're made by Meta. They're marketed by Meta. The frames are made by Ray-Ban. And I believe the old ones were called Meta Stories. And these are just the Meta Ray-Ban's smart glasses. So let's talk about what they can do. They can do a lot of things, and so I will just go through them. By the way, before I get started, I want to tell you that these are available through Amazon for $299, $300. Let's say $300. So all the stuff that I'm going to tell you about, I just want you to keep that price point in mind, because it's not $1,000 item. Like $1,000 item would be pretty prohibitive for a lot of people. $300 is, not cheap, but it is an obtainable thing. A lot of people can afford something for $300. They save up for it a little bit, but they're also not $50, right? They're not toy kid giveaway kind of things yet, but $300, it puts it in that range of VR headsets and, maybe a video gaming console, or maybe a couple-year-old video gaming console. But anyway, that's the price range that we're talking about, this $300 price range. So, first of all, when you order them, and my wife ordered these, again, she ordered these for me for Christmas. We had kind of talked about it, but it was still a surprise. You can order it with 3 different types of lenses. The first is a complete clear lens. So that is, basically they look like reading glasses, but they would just be clear glass in here. You can also order them. I guess there's 4 things you could do. The second one is you can order them with transition lenses, and that's what these are. So when you're indoors, these are clear. When you go out in the sun, they turn into sunglasses. So they're that transitional type of lens that you've seen probably on other sunglasses. The third thing is you could get them just as plain sunglasses. So that's a cool look, right? Like that takes me back to the 80s and Tom Cruise and wearing the Ray-Ban sunglasses and stuff. However, if you're going to be using these inside, that's not super practical. If you're going to be sitting at your desk working all day wearing sunglasses, I can't do that. Maybe you can, but I can't. So, but that is an alternative. And then the fourth one is you can actually have your prescription lenses put in these. So if you have a prescription on file with your eye doctor, Lens Crafters is an authorized company. They're authorized to replace lenses on these Meta glasses. So you can go to Lens Crafters, you can give them, they can pull up your prescription and you can have those lenses put in here, which is what I need to do. It's why I'm not wearing these as I'm doing this episode, because I have all my notes on the computer, and with these on, I can't read my notes. I will admit to having in public put these on over reading glasses, and I will do that just so you can see on the video. It's a look. It's not gonna win you over with the opposite sex. It's not something that people are gonna find attractive, but in a few cases I have done that. So we'll talk about some times where I have used these in public already and what that's like. So let's talk about what is the options and the features that are on these glasses. Well, before I say that, I should say this. These are made by Meta. So to use these, you have to have 2 things. Number 1, you have to have a Facebook account. That's the way it is. They're made by Meta. Meta owns Facebook. They own Instagram, Threads, and WhatsApp. So these are made by Meta. It's a Meta product. You have to have a Meta account. So if you're one of those people that says, I hate Zuckerberg, I will never have a Meta account, then I hope you keep watching or listening to the episode, but you won't own these. That's the only way that you can use them. It's just like Google's VR headset and stuff. That's the way it works. The other thing is you have to have a smartphone. These are highly rely on the power of a smartphone. They transmit things to and from the smartphone, your pictures and things like that. We'll get into all that. But you have to have a smartphone. You can do certain things with these without a smartphone, very limited amount of things, but whatever data gets stored in these glasses, you can't get it off the glasses without using your smartphone. So let's just say smartphone is required for using these. For the most part, these look like regular sunglasses, and especially if you looked at them from a foot or two away, I don't think, but when you look at them close, you can find a few giveaways. The most obvious giveaway are these 2 little lenses that are on the front corners of the glasses. There's one in each corner, right in the very corner by where the arm folds, but they're on the front. They are front facing. One of them is a camera lens. The other one is an LED. We're going to talk all about that. On the arm itself is a button. This button can be used for a few different features, which we'll talk about. On the inside of the arm is the on-off switch. I honestly haven't found a lot of reasons to turn it off, because when I'm done using them, I put them back in the case, and when they're charging in the case, they don't seem to be doing anything. So, but I guess some people turn their electronics off as he looks to a server that's been running for 10 years. But so there is an on-off switch. The frame also has 5 microphones, which are located around here. So the microphones are used for, you could use these as a Bluetooth headset. making phone calls, which we'll talk about, and also when you record video. So when you watch video back, you actually do get like a surround sound stereo audio on your video recordings, which is pretty cool, and it uses those for noise canceling. So when you're making phone calls specifically, I have noticed that the people on this call can't hear people around me who are talking, and the people that are around me more or less can't hear the conversations I'm having. Again, a lot of this we will talk about. There also on the inside here is a little LED. This can be controlled through the app, a bright, I think there's a high, medium, and low setting. But when you're doing things like taking pictures or whatever, it flashes on the inside of the lens. So you kind of see it out of the corner of your eye, and it lets you know that the glasses are doing something. Now, again, you could turn that all the way down so that it's just a really dim light, or you can make it really bright so it's a bright reminder. But other people can't see that. You're really the only the person wearing the glasses are able to see that. So that's pretty much the features. Also, these are USB rechargeable. But you wouldn't plug a USB cable into them. You recharge them through the case container. And so if you lose the container, you've lost the functionality of the glasses. You've got to keep this glasses case. And so when you open this case, you'll notice that there's a tiny little connector in here, which I'll try to show you in the video, but you probably won't be able to see that. But when the glasses go in the case, they plug into that, and it's seamless. You don't have to force it. You don't have to line it up. It just works, and it works every time. And so this is kind of like iPhone AirPods or some earbuds where the case is the charger. So you charge the case, and the case charges the glasses. So I don't know how many times you can recharge the glasses with the case, but it's a lot because I've only charged this case once or twice, and I've used the glasses quite a bit. You'll notice when you close it, you get a little light here on the button that shows you, a green light shows you what the charge level is. And then on the back, or the bottom, I should say, of the glasses case is a USB-C charging port. So again, you know, when you're around, you're at home, at your desk or something, you would charge your case. You could charge it with the glasses in there or without the glasses. It doesn't matter. But when you're done with the glasses, you fold them up, put them in the case, and it recharges the glasses. You get it. The battery in the glasses, it says, is good for about 4 hours of moderate use. That means, using it as a headset, you get 4 hours straight use. If you're using it, for listening or on phone calls or whatever, they're going to last for about 4 hours. If you're not using them for the entire 4 hours, they'll easily last a day between charges. It's not a big deal. But the other thing is, if you're like me and you're paranoid of breaking these, when you're done using them, you're going to put them back in that case. And when you put them back in the case, they're charging. So I haven't run into a situation yet where the battery life has become an issue. I haven't, been out recording or doing something and then run out of battery. It just hasn't happened. Also, that case, if you're like me, I kind of wear baggy jeans anyway, but that case fits in my front pocket. So I've been out and about, and then when I'm done with the glasses, I fold them up and I've got the case in my pocket. So it hasn't really been an issue for me. The entry use of these, I would say, I guess, would be as a Bluetooth headset. These will connect to your phone, iOS or Android, and you can use them as a Bluetooth headset for making phone calls. I'm going to tell you this, and I don't say this like I'm not blowing smoke. Do people still say that? I still say that. I'm not blowing smoke. It is the best Bluetooth headset I own. I own these. This is the good thing about video. I can show you. But I have these earpods. These are Edifer. I have 2 pairs of these that are pretty dang good. And I also have these Sony's, which I don't use as much because they're big. And they're like a big thing that hangs out of my ear when I use them. And then I also have like a Jabra headset, Bluetooth headset. By far, these glasses sound the best, both when I'm listening to other people on the phone and when I'm talking. I've made multiple phone calls with these, and I've asked people what the sound quality is, and they said, aren't you just holding the phone up to your ear? Nobody could tell. And the other Bluetooth headsets I have, most of them sound pretty good, but people could tell you're on a Bluetooth headset. People can't tell with this. It just sounds that good. It's got to have to do with the noise canceling and all the microphones or whatever, but it's working overtime to make phone calls sound good. Now, how do you hear? Well, not so good these days. And I like to make jokes for my own entertainment. There are, you won't be able to see these on the video, but on the bottom of the arms, there are tiny little pinholes. I don't know if they're on the inside of the arm or on the bottom of the arm. They are tiny, tiny pinhole speakers that are directionally pointed at your ear hole. Okay, so this is not, what is the other technology? The bone induction sound. It's not that. These are tiny speakers that point at your ear canal. Okay. So you might say, can other people hear your conversations? If you turn them up loud enough, they can. In my experience, I can listen to music or make phone calls and turn the volume on my phone up to about 50%. And they sound really good at 50%. I can listen to music, I can make phone calls, and no one around me can hear the music or the conversations. When I turn it up past that, they can. The sound will bleed out at that point. Also, the Meta glasses have a lot of audio feedback for different things that you're doing. When you take a picture, it makes a sound like an old camera, it goes like that. So you know you're taking a picture. If you have your volume up too high, people around you will hear that notification. If you have your volume at about 50% or less, they won't hear it. You'll be the only one that hears it. So that's been my experience with the speaker so far. Now, I've already alluded to the fact that there is a camera built in. The camera is this one as I'm looking at it, or if they're on my face, it is the lens on the left, and the lens on the right is the built-in LED. The camera lens is an HD lens. It is, 1920 by 1080, but it is vertical. It is locked into portrait mode. Why is that? It's because these are made by Meta. And so what they want people to do is use these with Facebook or Instagram, and to make videos on Instagram and Facebook that would be vertically oriented for cell phones. If you're making content on YouTube, you really want horizontal content, right? You want it to be so that it looks good on people's TVs. But if you're making content for people's phones, you want it to be vertical. And so these are designed for that. Now, that being said, I have shot a lot of video in HD using these. And on my latest episode of Big Rob's Van, I shot a bunch of footage inside my local casino. I used these glasses. I wasn't trying to be particularly sneaky because people shoot video with their phones in casinos all the time. But I was wearing these glasses, and then what I did was I blew the video up so that it would fill a widescreen shot. So you're going to lose some resolution if you do that, but it still looks pretty good. It doesn't look terrible. Now these glasses, the cameras, the two cameras, whether it's the still camera or the video, can be activated in one of two ways. And the first is with this tiny button that is right here on the front right, almost toward the lens of the right arm. So with the glasses on, you can just reach up and tap the button, and one quick little tap, and it will take a picture. It'll make this sound. You'll hear it in the ear things. It will take a picture, and the LED, I have to point to the on my right. So if you're looking at me, it would be the left, but for me, it's the right. The little LED will go off almost like a flash, but it's not bright like a flash. And we're going to get to the LED in just a moment. The other thing you could do is record video. So if you hold that button down just a split second longer, it will start recording a video. And the videos are limited to 60 seconds. There are a couple of ways around that. And in fact, because this is a Meta product, Meta products like Facebook and Instagram will recognize these. And so you can do a live stream. So I believe it says on a live stream, you're limited to 30 minutes. So you could do if you needed to record a longer video than 60 seconds, you could do a Facebook live stream and then later go onto your Facebook and you could download that video. So that's kind of a way around it. In my experience, I thought when I heard that, I thought that was a very limiting feature. I thought being limited to 1 minute video clips was very limiting. As I started using these in the real world, I found it's not limiting. When you're, in a casino, you want a shot of a machine and something happening. You don't want 5 minutes of that. You really want 10 to 15 seconds of that. If you're looking at something out in nature or something, you really don't need a 5-minute video. You need a short video. So do I wish it would record forever? Sure, but it doesn't. That's a limitation. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, again, when you take a picture, you get an audio feedback. When you take a picture or start a video, you also get a video feedback. When you take a video, the entire time the video is going, the LED lights up and it pulses. Okay. Now, it is a white LED. It's not super bright. So I think the universal signal of a camera recording is a red light, but this is not a red light. It's a soft white light. So subconsciously, I don't think people realize that you're recording. And I want to talk about ethics, but we're not there yet. We're going to talk about that. But the whole time you're recording, this light is kind of pulsing. Now, it's not very bright. And if you block it, it doesn't work. If you block the light lens with your hand or whatever and try to start recording, it will say, or a piece of tape, which is what every single person that buys these, including me and everyone that I've talked to about them, says, can you cover it with tape? If you do that, it says the light lens is covered and it won't start. You need to unblock the light is what it says. Okay. Now, the other thing I was going to mention is that the other way to start these is through voice control. So, with phones, we can say, hey, and I don't say it because I don't want my podcast to trigger your phone, but sometimes I say, hey, Sarah, because you know who I'm talking about, or hey, Alexandria, right? So these report to Meta. And so you can say, hey, Meta, and the glasses make a little boop, boop, like noise in your ear, and then you can say things, and there's not a lot of voice commands. But take a picture is one. So as you're walking, you could say, hey, Meta, take a picture. And the glasses go, and they take a picture. You could say, hey, Meta, start recording, and hey, Meta, stop recording, which is convenient. You could say, hey, hey, Meta, what's the remaining battery life? And it will tell you what that is. But there are two other voice features. The first is you can ask it a question. And I'm not entirely sure if it's using Google, if it's using their own information, but you can say things like, hey, Meta, I need directions, to here, or, and it goes through your phone and it'll say you need directions. And then it'll sit there and give you directions as you're walking to get where you need to go. Or you can ask questions. Hey, Meta, what's the temperature today? And it'll search for a second, and then it'll tell you what the temperature is, So you have access basically to the internet which you already have through your smartphone. And this is what's strange about these glasses, is that it eliminates this layer. You know, when you see someone walking around with their phone and they're holding their phone up like this, or they're walking and they're looking at their phone like this, like that is a layer that's between you and that person. They're looking at that phone, right? But the glasses remove that layer, and it's very strange. It's disconcerting when you first use them, because all of a sudden you're getting information in your ears that other people aren't getting. So as I'm sitting there I put these on and I was in the car and I said, hey, Meta, what is this or whatever? And it starts talking. And then I guess I triggered the NPR. I was listening to NPR and it starts playing the NPR. And then my wife started asking me, and I was like, whoa, hold on. And she goes, what's the matter? And I was like, I'm listening to NPR. And she goes, you are? Like, she had no idea that this was playing, NPR. I was listening to a show. So, it's kind of weird. It's kind of your own little reality that other people aren't necessarily in. Now, again, there's no visual feedback. You're not seeing pictures or anything like that, but the audio stuff that you're getting, you can get a lot of information that other people aren't getting. So let's talk about this LED. The LED is not here for technical reasons. The LED is here for ethical reasons. The LED is so when you're wearing these glasses, if you're recording someone, they know you're recording, in theory. Okay? Now, number one, as I already said, the light is not very bright, and it's a white pulsing light. So that's not what we associate with being recorded. Again, with ever since the 80s and camcorders, we associate a red light. If you see a video camera with a red light, that's recording us. This doesn't look like that. The other thing is, it's really it's not noticeable in daytime at all. In daytime, you can't see the light. It's only noticeable in medium to darker rooms, like imagine maybe not a well-lit restaurant, or a place like that. But it also is only noticeable if you're looking directly at the light. So if you're looking slightly to the left or the right, people don't see the light. I was really self-conscious about using these in public for the first time. And so I made up an entire story about how these are only audio, and I'm just listening to music, and the light must mean I need a charge or that music is playing or something. And I've used these in public 20 times so far, and no one has ever asked me about the light. And now I've experimented with the light. But even with no experimentations, no one ever asked me about the light. It's just not that noticeable. And again, it's not... people aren't familiar with these yet, and so that's not what they're expecting. It's people. If you saw a pair of gloves that had a blue light on them, and then you just be like, that guy's got gloves that have blue lights on them. But then 5 years from now, you go, lights with blue or gloves with blue lights. That means they're recording their audio. Well, I didn't know that. So people don't know what this light, they haven't seen these glasses and they don't know what this light is. Now, if these become more mainstream and people become more aware of them, then they might look at them. But I'm telling you this, I was able to walk through a casino wearing these, filming. And again, casino, it's legal to film in. People film with their cameras all the time. But I was able to walk around and film all that I wanted. Nobody looked at me twice. Nobody asked me any questions. It just wasn't a deal. So, yeah. Okay. So that's the thing. Now, as I mentioned, every single person I've showed these to or talked about these to has said, can you cover the lens or can you cover the light? That's what everybody wants to know. That's what I wanted to know. Right. I am a hacker at heart. I love messing around with stuff, taking stuff apart, fiddling with stuff, getting around stuff. And I will say this, here's your caveat. Facebook or Meta says blocking the light or messing with the light is a violation of terms of service. So I think if you put a YouTube video up that says, here's how I defeated the light, they might disable your account. They might come after you on YouTube. I don't really know what they would do, but it does say as part of the terms of service, you're not supposed to mess with the light. So my caveat is that I have played around with the light for my own personal use in this room, and that's that. So if you go to YouTube, there are a lot of videos from people saying, how do you block this light? And then all the videos say you can't. Well, you can, but you got to know how this thing works, and then you'll know what the limitations are. So I've looked at this under a magnifying glass, and if you look at the light lens, it's kind of almost like a glass tube. Like, you remember those solar tubes that people put in their ceilings for a while? It's like that. It's almost like a little tube, and the LED is set back in the tube just a little bit, so the light kind of bounces around. The light is not on the very outside of the lens. It's kind of set back in there just a little bit. And then, so the LED is in the middle, and surrounding the LED is a circle of sensors. Now, I don't know, like technically, I don't think they've released and said exactly what the sensors are or how the sensors work. But what I believe, a lot of people think that they're light sensors. I don't think that's the case. I think they are proximity sensors, because if you put something on that it can sort of see through, it will still work. But if you completely block it out, it won't work. But it also works in pitch black. So if it were pitch black, there wouldn't be any light coming back. But a proximity type sensor, would work. So I think that's how it's detecting whether or not the lens, the LED is covered. So the first thing I did was I put a piece of electrical tape over it and started recording. And then the glasses will tell you, sorry, the LED is blocked. You need to unblock it before I will record. So you can't record if this is completely blocked. That's out of the question. I put a dollar bill over it, and it does work. And not that I'm going to walk around with a dollar bill stuck to my face, but there's enough of the light that will go through a dollar bill, and so it's just kind of a soft glow instead of a LED that's shining in your face. So a dollar bill does work, right? So I did some experimenting. The first of all is I have some pinstriping tape, which is pretty thin. I want to say it's 1/8 of an inch wide. And I put a strip right across the middle. And I have black, so I put a strip right across the middle. And the glasses still work because enough of those proximity sensors are still working. It doesn't seem like all the sensors have to be able to work. It seems like some of the sensors have to work. And then the light just kind of glowed from above and below where the tape was. But that did work. Then I tried, I bought, if you're watching the video, I'll show you. I bought a sheet of window tint. And it's funny that I bought a $10 roll of window tint. And if you're watching the video, you can see I've cut out a tiny little corner of it just for experimenting. And I also bought, which I didn't have, I can't believe I didn't have one of these, a hole punch. And so what I did was I punched holes out of the window tape. And this is it's not window tint. It is window tint, but it's not car window tint. It's the tint designed to go in your window to block the sun. And so I punched out little holes and I stuck them on here. But the problem is that tint isn't sticky. So I stuck it on here with some saliva. And because I didn't want to permanently stick something to the lens, what I'll probably, if I go that route, I would use maybe like a glue stick or something that would go on here, but not be that permanent, and that worked. That does work. So it greatly, this is like car tint, it's tinting out the light. Now you're shining a direct light at tint, so it will come through, but it's just not as bright and it kind of diffuses it. One thing I didn't test is I found translucent vinyl tape on Amazon, which it says can be applied to light bulbs. I didn't buy that because it's $13 a roll. And I need it says, I think it's 50-foot roll, and I need, a quarter of an inch. So I didn't want to pay $13 for a quarter of an inch of tape, but I suspect that would work as well. Plus it would be sticky. So maybe I'll buy the roll of tape. If you support me on Patreon, now you know where your money goes. Me trying to mess with smart glasses. So as we continued, one of the things I thought is if you could cover the most of the light, how could you cover the most of the light, but leave the sensors around? And so my wife said, could you make an X with the pinstripe? And I said, the thing is, I'm not dexterous enough to be able to do that. You have to be pretty good with sticking the tape and doing all that. But my wife has a Cricut printer, and so she printed a small, tiny letter X, and we stuck it on the lens. And so that's where we're at right now. And again, this is just playing around in the house. I don't need to do this going out in public. I'm not being a spy or whatever, but just playing around just to see how much can you get away with doing that. And that works. So the light is greatly, probably reduced 90%. So I would say in the normal operating thing, if you're looking at someone, they would notice. But if you're looking off to the side, 45-degree angle or something, they probably wouldn't notice. With it like this, I don't think people would notice if you're looking at them in their face. So, again, I want to get into the ethics of doing that. Again, reminder, messing around with the LED is a violation of the terms of service. I have read online some people took black nail polish and put it on the end of a toothpick and applied the tiniest little dot on the end of the lens. But if you get it where it covers those sensors, it's no good. You're going to have to start over, and you're going to be scraping fingernail polish off of a $300 lens on the front of your glasses. Ideally, there would be a way to hack it through software. I don't have the ability to do that, and these have a firmware that is signed through Meta. All of this has to work with Meta, so it would have to be pretty sneaky to be able to do that. Somebody may do that someday, but that day is not today. So if you're buying these glasses, I would say this, like, one of my things is I've always wanted to do videos where I go shopping, like at thrift stores or antique stores, and record that. And I don't want to have my phone out the whole time, waving the phone around while I'm shopping. Well, these will do that. These will do that. And if the light's on, it doesn't matter. If people say, oh, that guy's recording, I'm not doing anything sneaky. That's fine. I'm recording. I want people to know that. But I know that that's a point of contention for a lot of people, this light, and so I expect to see other people come up with better ideas than a sticker printed from a Cricut stuck on there. But that's what I was doing to experiment with. To talk a little bit about the ethics, there's an argument that says the reason that the lights are on these is because you shouldn't be recording people without their knowledge. Okay? That is a ethical question. Should you record people without their knowledge? Okay? People with their cell phones record people every day without their knowledge. I see people all the time. I know I'm in the background of a million people's home videos and cell phone videos where they're filming on the street, filming in the store, filming at a concert, and I'm in all those videos, and nobody asked me to be in their videos. So, the law says if you're in a public place, you're consenting to being filmed because it's public, right? So if you're in a park or on the street or whatever, you can film whatever you want. There's one argument that says, why do these have a light that has to warn people they're being recorded when our phones don't have a light? And you can record people with your phone and there's no visual notification on the back that you're filming. And I agree with that, but I also disagree with that because I think, I don't know what a term for this is. I just kind of made up a term that I'm calling like an agreed upon social language. But when I'm doing this, or when I'm doing this, and holding a phone like this, you know I'm recording. Like, we have this understanding in our culture, maybe it's an accepted cultural signal that you're recording with your phone. And we don't have an agreed upon social awareness that I'm recording it with my glasses. That doesn't exist yet. So the light is that notification that says, hey, I'm doing something. The problem is that people don't speak that language yet. If I were looking at you and there's a light on my glasses, you don't know that that means this is recording. And if you asked me, I could lie. I could say, oh, you know, one of the things is, and one of the reasons that my wife bought me this is because I've talked about this on podcasts before, but I have deteriorating vision. My vision is slowly getting worse. And because of a genetic disease called Stargardt's disease. And the ultimate, the end of the road diagnosis for Stargardt's is I will eventually become legally blind. Now, that doesn't mean that the lights go out. What that means is it's just like macular degeneration. If you know maybe an older person that has macular degeneration and they lose the ability for their straight ahead or their detailed vision, but they still have their peripheral vision, this is the exact same thing. It's just a different cause. It's not caused by old age. It's caused by a genetic defect. So I came up with an entire excuse of, you know, hey, I'm recording and I go, hell, these are for low vision. I need these for my vision and thing, which is ironic because what I'm wearing them, I can't see as good as I can with my normal glasses on. But that would be, you know, an excuse. But nobody's asked. Nobody at the casino, I did some recording at a store. Nobody has come up to me and said, hey, why are your glasses flashing? Nobody has asked. So that awareness just doesn't exist yet in culture. And if these don't catch on, if you don't end up knowing somebody that has these, or you see them on television or something like that, then that may never. This may end up being a niche product that people just aren't aware of what that light is saying. You know. So yeah, again, I think that is just a lack of a physical action or activity or notification that you're recording someone. You have these on and you could touch your glasses. Who notices you touching your glasses? People I touch these glasses all the time in the exact same way. I could touch those glasses. And you could, the Meta notifications are, because it has so many microphones, you could say it really quietly. You don't have to shout like, hey, Meta, take a picture. You could just mumble under your breath, hey, Meta, that sort of thing. And it works. So you're not drawing attention to yourself using these. So, and again, there's a legal argument and there's an ethical argument, right? Like if you were in a restaurant or something, are you supposed to film other people? Do people do it with their camera? There's really no difference between this and your phone. The only difference is people don't know you're doing it with glasses, and they do see you doing it with your phone. Although I've recorded plenty of people and taken plenty of pictures of people that didn't know they were in my videos or pictures either. So I don't know. There's some interesting technological and ethical and legal conversations, I think, that haven't fully come out yet about these. So anyway, let's get back to talking about the videos and the pictures. Now, when you take a video or a picture, they are stored on the glasses. Okay, you can't access any of that data while they're on the glasses. So you got to get it from the glasses to your phone. Well, how would you do that? Well, guess what? There's an app, the Meta Ray-Ban Smart app. I'm going to look and see on my phone. I think it's called MetaView. So you open up MetaView and it says, hey, there's content on your glasses. Do you want to get it on your phone? So when you do that, it makes a Wi-Fi connection to the glasses. And this is something that I've seen on several other items recently, is that this wants both a Bluetooth connection for normal usage, and then it wants a Wi-Fi connection for transferring the videos and stuff over. So a lot of connections. But it will connect to your glasses temporarily over Wi-Fi. and copy the data to your phone, but it doesn't copy it to your camera roll, or I don't know if that's what Android calls it, but the iOS, it doesn't copy it there. It copies it to the app. So then you get a list of photos and videos on the app, and then you can highlight all those and say, save those to the camera roll. So it's multiple steps to get it to your phone, because what I do is I sync my camera roll on my phone to the computer using Dropbox. So to take a video and get it into today's video, I've got to shoot a video with this. I've got to use the app to sync it to the app. I have to use the app again to sync it to the camera roll. Then I have to use Dropbox to sync it from the phone to my PC, where I would do the video editing. If you do your video editing on the phone, then that's one less step. But so it doesn't just go from the glasses to your computer. There are a few different steps of getting that from point A to point B. Again, I mentioned this at the top of the program, and I will repeat it, that this is a Meta product. I think I've said the word Meta enough. But again, to do all that, to log into the Meta View app, it wants your Facebook account. So you've got to be on Facebook. And again, like I said, to some people, they say that's a no-starter for me. Then that's a no-starter for you. There's no workaround around that. So, and I am aware that... on your phone, when you have Sarah enabled, and you say, hey, Sarah, and the phone says, yep, the phone was listening, which means the phone's listening all the time. And so that is part of this technology that concerns me a little bit, because if this has camera lenses and microphones and all that, then even if I'm not using it, is someone at Meta able to monitor that? What about the content that I record? Are they able to monitor that? There's a terms of service that's 20 pages long that we all say, I accept these terms of service. I don't really know what's in there. So maybe, I'm hoping not, but it does feel a little bit like you're opening up your life and your world a little bit to old Zuckerberg, although he knew everything about me already. Now, if you're watching the YouTube video, I'm going to throw up some B-roll here. And I want to tell you about one of the first times I used these glasses. Now, I live in a town that our main landmark is a giant flour mill. The flour mill was built in the late 1800s. It is by far the largest building in my town. The flour mill is my town's identity. Our football team, the town is Yukon. I'm not hiding the town. But our football team, we're the Millers because of the flour mill. We're the Yukon Millers. If you look up something for Yukon, Oklahoma, you'll see the flour mill. That is, we have the Miller Man. That's our football team's mascot and our school's mascot. The flour mill itself might as well be the town's mascot. I have seen the flour mill every time I go into town my entire life. For 50 years, I've been seeing this flour mill. But I've never been inside. It's not a functioning flour mill. It hasn't been functioning in my lifetime. But there is a side add-on, a very small little building, and someone has rented it and started having thrift sales there, once a month thrift sales. So for the first time in my life, I was able to go inside the mill that I've seen my entire life, right? So it was a big deal. So I wanted to capture that, but I also kind of wanted to share that. And so what I did was, right before we went in, I opened up Facebook Live or Facebook, and then said go live. And it says, there's an option to use your front camera or back camera. And then it says double tap the button on your glasses to switch to your glasses. And that's what it did. It switched to these glasses. And I was able to go through a thrift store rummage sale. I dug through DVDs. I looked at an extension cord that I ended up buying, and I was narrating the entire time. And friends of mine were like, this is the first time I ever did a live stream, I believe, on Facebook. So people were like, what is he doing? And tuned in. And it was kind of a fun little thing. Now, again, as I mentioned before, this was before I had played around with the LED light at all. Nobody asked me what I was doing. Nobody said, what are those glasses? Nobody said, why is there a light on those glasses? I was recording when we checked out, when we paid, as I was looking at the cashier and the assistants who are handling, the merchandise and stuff. Nobody asked me. So even, like I said, even in the default configuration, the light is so unobtrusive that it's just not a showstopper. It turns out that we know the people that were doing this sale, and so if they had asked me, then I would say, and I haven't shown the footage of those people, of checking out. It was more of a test on my part to see if someone would notice, and if someone said, "Oh, what are you doing?" I'm not just going to go around going, "I'm recording right now." Like I'm not going to do that, because the point of the video is not anybody that's in that video was incidental. Like as I'm looking at things, someone might walk past me or next to me, and they're not the focus of the video. But if I were to use the footage of checking out and the cashier or something, I would get that person's permission. And actually, if I were going to do it, again, I was doing a test to see if someone would notice the lights. But if I weren't doing a test, then I would tell them. I would say, hey, by the way, these are smart glasses and they're recording. Is that okay? So that's just the way, that's the way I roll, as I like to say. Now, again, as I mentioned, if I were just doing videos and storing them on the glasses, they would be limited to 1 minute. But because I was doing that Facebook Live video, it just streamed. I think it ran for about 10 minutes, and just didn't have any problems with it at all. It was kind of neat, so. I want to talk about the final feature, and this is a feature that's being rolled out right now. We talked about how you can use them as a Bluetooth headset. You can use them as a Bluetooth, for making calls, listening to music. You could take pictures. You can take video. You can use it to get information, right? You could say, hey, Meta, give me directions. Hey, Meta, what's the temperature? Anything that you would say, that you would ask, Google or whatever, you could do, okay? But there's a new feature that's being rolled out, and I think this is the killer app. I think this is the killer app of these glasses, is that Meta is building in a back-end AI program that will interpret what you're looking at and then give you information about it. So you can, with the glasses on, you could look at your phone and say, hey, Meta, look and tell me what this is. And it will take a picture. You'll hear the picture go off. So it's not doing it all the time, right? It'll take that picture. It sends it to their back end, and it comes back and says, you're looking at an iPhone. I believe that's an iPhone. Okay. I watched a demonstration online of someone using it, and they looked at a steak laying on a grill, and they said, hey, Meta, how long should I cook that for? And it took the picture. It took about 5 seconds, and it says, I believe that is a 12-ounce ribeye. And then it said, here's the temperature and how long you should cook it. That's the killer app, is being able to see what I'm seeing and give me the information. What is this? How do I do this? Give me instructions on this. How do I repair this? Where am I? What is this building? What is this statue? Any of that stuff. I can't speak now about the full capabilities of that because I don't have that option. They're rolling it out in January. They're literally rolling it out this month. A lot of people have said they have it, and all the people that say they have it, surprisingly, are in and around the Bay Area, near the Meta headquarters. So that appears to be where they've rolled it out first, and then it's making its way across the country. So I'm waiting for that feature to be enabled. But, I think that's the killer app. I think if you can walk into maybe a toy store and pick up something, or a thrift store and pick up something and say, what is this? How much is it worth? Or something like that. And if it could do that, like we don't really know everything it could do, but it seems to be able to do a lot. And so especially, it's a fun toy, first of all. Second of all, it's a massively powerful tool, just for normal people for daily use, right? If you have a need for it. But third of all, I think for people with poor vision or failing vision, I think it's going to be invaluable. I think you'll be able to look at something and say, hey, Meta, read this to me, and it will do it. I think you'll be able to say, hey, Meta, what am I looking at? What am I holding? What am I seeing? And it will be able to do that. And if it could do that, then it's not a toy. It's a technological miracle. And it will open doors for a lot of people. So I'm interested to see how it progresses and what comes next. But if you happen to see me walking around and my glasses look a little bit thicker than normal and I'm touching them or muttering to them, you might want to smile. You're probably on candid camera. That wraps up another episode of You Don't Know Flack. If you have feedback about this or any episode of the show, you can always email me directly at robohara@robohara.com. Join the conversation on Facebook at facebook.com/Robcast. Follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Commodore. Come chat with me on the Amigos Retro Gaming Discord server or leave me a message on the podcast hotline, which is 405-486-YDKF. My podcast would not be possible without the support of my patrons, people like Matt Nicholson, Mitsuyama, and Robbie Harris. If you want to be like those people and support my creative endeavors, head on over to patreon.com/Rob O'Hara to get access to behind the scenes blog posts, random videos, access to the Amigos Retro Gaming Discord server, and other additional perks. To find out more details, again, visit my page. That is patreon.com/Rob O'Hara. You Don't Know Flack is available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and the RSS feed, which is at podcast.robohara.com. To hear more podcasts from me, visit that website, podcast.robohara.com, for links and information about all my other shows. Congratulations! If you made it this far, you know a little bit more about smart glasses and a little bit more about Flack. We'll see you here next time.